You could say it's feedback time on Posts and Perspectives. What are your thoughts regarding the issues discussed so far? Let's begin with the story of the federal government launching credit scheme for locally assembled vehicles. Well, maybe for that person who's been thinking, I think I need a car. You know what they say, that a car is a necessity. It's not as if it's luxury. Maybe God has finally heard your prayer. So let's get some comments around that. Yelaya says, someone will now tell me Nigeria is not moving forward. No way I can see and I can verify. So obviously he's very excited about that development. Maybe he's one of those who's been praying for a car or wanting to buy more cars. And Y Anmi says, first, we need urgently to move away from keke, okada to taxi and proper buses. Second, why assemble keke and motorbikes when we can easily manufacture and did so in the past? We are actually losing jobs plus value chain and supporting Indian manufacturers more than Nigeria. That's a great question. Seems like, if we could, let's begin small, but even at that, we've done this before, we could do it again. What are you thinking?
Okay, the person is talking about we manufacturing.
Yes, buses, keke, before moving on to, tricycles, before moving on to exotic vehicles, and saying that we were manufacturing the tricycles here before, and asking why we can't do that ourselves rather than support the economies of the countries where this component will be coming from.
Okay, the countries where these components are coming from, we import these things. Where, Tertiary Education Trust Fund, they build lots of facilities for universities, including secondary schools and primary schools. When these things are imported, some of them we should just import, take them to our universities and have our science students have and study them. Study these things that we've imported into this country. If they are spare parts for cars, and we are going to be assembling them together, let our students look at them and make another prototype here, emulate it. Then we can start an industry with that. Our government needs to be deliberate in issues about policy, because if we do not do that, some few people who have shown themselves that they have the capacity to put two scraps of things together and to manufacture one vehicle. Probably it's not moving, but the person have the initiative to be able to, carve out the carcass of the vehicle. The person have the initiative. There was someone who built a tricycle that's using water. Because I saw the video on social media. It's here in Nigeria, and it's even in the northern part of the country. So when people show off such level of innovation and creativity, I think they should attract institutions of research and development. They should also attract institutions of government, and these institutions of government must be willing to lay down some funds or to take some of these persons to advance their level of training so that they'll be able to replicate that in a functional way.
Okay, and then on the issue of the WTO chief warning and calling for global leaders to attend to the pandemic agreement after the U.S. withdrew from that organization. So Rini says WHO, WEF, and UN Gates are in it all together. So much emphasis on disease. It is either a scare tactic or they already know what and have vaccines on them ready. Governments worldwide should not sign this treaty. It will end our lives as we know it. No climate crisis. It's a ploy. That's a strong one. And then moving on. So this other comment says, from Aristotle, he breaks it. Aristotle, all right? The very definition of a paradox. The only thing you can be sure of is that if sufficient of the 194 WHO member states sign, there will be a pandemic. Really, a no-brainer for non-WEF aligned nations, of course. Wow. It seems like some persons are scared and think that the agreement would not be in favor of the global populace, and that once that is signed, there will be a pandemic. So perhaps there's a disease cultured already, so, and the vaccines for it have been prepared. So once that treaty is signed, then they release it, as there have been conspiracies around, there have been theories around the COVID-19, which some think that it was a conspiracy.
I don't want to see Mr. Adhanom Ghebreyesus and his consultant and his experts that works with him as wicked human beings who will go manufacture or aid the manufacturing of one disease somewhere, and they'll be planning to throw it, to release it to the world so that they can enable the international pharmaceutical organizations to make money. I don't want to see them in that light. That would be an accusation that is too big, you know. So I think we should be very, very careful about that. And I understand the position for which Mr. Ghebreyesus is warning. Is warning because they felt someone like even while the United States of America hadn't made the decision to leave the WHO, they had said it, that the world should be prepared. Saying it this second time is that, look, the United States would have been a reliable partner, a reliable stakeholder that could, provision-wise make some form of money available, make technology available, make facilities available, and, make some form of provision to be sent to other parts of the country available if we have another COVID-19 or another epidemic again in the world. And now that it has left, we need to be very, very careful so that we start working at this particular point in time so that we'll be able to mitigate any of such chances.
All right, on the story of our experts predicting that Nigeria's inflation could drop between 27 to 25% if the rebasing of the economy is done. So this is Mose Ebulaton says, if the prices of most commodities sustain the gradual drop and the base year is set at 2024, it may even be lower than the 15% predicted by the federal government. So he's thinking that the base year for the rebasing of the nation's economy should be 2024 rather than 2019.
2024,
as planned by the National Bureau of Statistics. Okay, let's see what other persons think about this. All right, so Econ Bro says the only purpose the rebasing serves is to make the government look like they're working. Okay, and I'm going to take one last comment on that, and this time around is from Dafini Nelson Jaja, and he says, rebasing, unemployment dropped from 31% to 4%, inflation dropped 35% to 25%, but median income drops, purchasing power drops, and GDP per capita also drops. Banana Republic stuff. What do you think? It's looking like this rebasing does not give an actual representation of the reality. So when unemployment rate at the time was put at about 33%, and so when it was recalculated using a different formula, it became 4%. But that does not mean that the number of unemployed people reduced. So it's the figure versus the reality. That's what this person is saying. So what do you make of this? The 2024 being the base year for rebasing the economy, and what would be achieved from rebasing?
In fact, I think it is one economic jargon that should be left for those within that climb who have a perfect understanding for it. I see it as just an esoteric way of use. NBS, okay, fine. The government now has, let's assume it has been rebased today, the data has been reviewed, and the government has it. Let's give the government 1 week. The government now has a good structure, the good knowledge about the structure of the Nigerian economy. Okay, so it's going to make decisions. That decision, it's not, except it increases the purchasing power of the man on the street. It has not done anything good. So now we have the knowledge. Okay, then what? So it's just the way we were taught that, except when the government talks about economic development and economic growth, except we begin to count there's the transformation, the physical, evidential transformation in the lives of people. Not now that people are experiencing multi-dimensional poverty and they are battling with that, and they are battling with paying tariff for price of premium motor spirit, for the increment that is in transportation, for food stuff and all of it. It's not, except the government, the people now have more to purchase this, then we can say the rebasing of the economy
what you're saying,
has done
it's more than rebasing. It's about putting the right things that contributes to the inflation, putting them in check. All right. So the WTO DG, that is the WTO Director General, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, has advised that African leaders be innovative in looking inward for funding opportunities. And to that, we have this response from Ibrahim Mohammed. I wish any kind of aid, grants, and donations, including loans, coming to Africa be terminated. It's high time we stop being lazy when we have untapped resource to cater for ourselves. Okay, so this other comment says, and this came in from Okikelu, well, not to mince words, just tell them to maximize their resources. The continent is blessed enough to fund its population. And then lastly, we take this comment, and that it says, it's from Icon. Beyond that, our development banks are underfunded. Institutions like the African Finance Corporation hold a combined $70 billion, yet Africa needs $200 billion yearly for infrastructure. Instead of begging for foreign loans, African governments should capitalize their own banks. Very quickly, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's true. And I like the way Amana and Mr. Kiume Adesina has been working since he started heading the African Development Banks. So let all the central banks of Africa work together, and let's prioritize trading among each other member states, and making sure that, look, if you're coming to my country to do business, you can use the naira. If I'm coming to your country, I use the Ghanaian cedis if I'm coming to Ghana. So we don't need to give this laudable place to the dollar, and where both currencies will begin to suffer. So except African countries start working together and to begin to take and tap from the advantage that each economy in Africa presents, then we may not be heading anywhere.
And we want to head somewhere, so it means that
really
African countries need to get that thinking cap. If it means that they buy the thinking cap today, we know that we are thinking strategically on how to improve the economy, then by all means we should do that. That's all on Post and Perspectives. Sook Sports is up next with Chuks John Bridges. Let's get it now to the world of sports. Welcome back from the world of sports. Wow, those huge figures that Chuks John Rogers was mentioning was beginning to make me feel dizzy. I was calculating in my head. I didn't need my calculator. But of course, the sports business is big business. Just in case you have talent there and you haven't yet tapped into them, don't be the one who is not doing anything with the talent that you have been given by God. I'm Blessing Aiche. This is where the show ends today. Tomorrow will be another time for us to bring on different set of issues. You know that we do ignite conversations with a view to inspiring change. We'll see you tomorrow from Perikromali.
Yeah, I like the part Chuk said in Formula One, someone is being paid with
crypto, yes.
Maybe I should review, I should start looking at my contract too.
If you want to be paid with
cryptocurrency.
Okay, but make sure
be valued in dollar.
Make sure it's the coin that is doing well. Don't buy some coin that you have to wait for eternity for them to appreciate.
I'll consult Chuks and I'll consult a few other people before making.
You see what we're talking about? Business transactions happening here. We'll see you tomorrow.
I'm Oyipri Kurumale. Many thanks for watching.